Greetings, Human Life Forms. I'm the Meister, and welcome back to the prediction videos. This is going to be the first of 33 prediction videos I'll be making before the season begins. Obviously, one for each of the 32 teams, and then, of course, right before the season starts, I will have my yearly season prediction video for playoffs, Super Bowl, all that fun stuff. And as you can see, got a new setup going on here, so I hope you guys like it. You guys already knew this if you follow my X, which will be in the description below, as well as the Playoff Predictors website, which I'll be using for all 32 teams. And I don't know what order to go in for the teams as per usual, so I'm doing a little spin the wheel every single time before I record. And the first team I got was the Saints, which is a very interesting team. It is a team that I think a lot of people are thinking could make some noise this season with the emergence of Tyler Shough, their quarterback from last season, who really turned it on at the end of the last season. So I think a lot of Saints fans are very optimistic about what they can be seeing this year, especially now with their new receiver addition, Jordan Tyson, also there to pair up with Chris Olave, their new running back with Travis Etienne, because Alvin Kamara is very old, and their defense, I don't know how much better I'm really expecting their defense to be this season. They added a lot of young talent on that side of the ball. They didn't add a whole lot of veteran additions to that side, I don't feel like, so we'll see how it plays out this season, but there is hope for the Saints. Some people talking potential division champs. We'll see how it plays out once this is all said and done, but we're starting off with the Saints. Week 1 in Detroit against the Lions. That is a very tough game to start for them. We all know how the Lions are, and I also got to say really quick, the way last season was, everyone knows, was a very wonky year. A lot of the great teams missed out in the playoffs or underperformed, and a lot of mediocre teams or average teams did better than expected, and they made it farther than a lot of people would. So the Lions definitely fall into that category as one of those great teams that missed out in the playoffs, and the Lions could definitely do a lot this year. They can do a lot of damage. They still have a lot of talent, especially on offense. And considering it's going to be week 1, and as far as training camp, they go through that unscathed, they should be pretty healthy for this game. And they'll probably win that game too. I'm going to go with the Lions winning that one in week 1. Not too much of a surprise. Lions, one of the most dangerous teams in football, and especially when they're healthy, they are hard to beat. So give me the Lions there in week 1, and then week 2 in Baltimore. Jesus Christ. The schedule makers were not very forgiving in the first 2 weeks of the Saints going into Baltimore week 2. It's another one of those teams that chock full of talent. And they just weren't able to put it together last season. They did have some injuries with Lamar, as I feel like they kind of normally do every other season, it feels like. Now they have a new head coach in Jesse Minter, so we'll see how it plays out for them, but they still have so much talent on both sides of the football. And again, kind of similar situation to the Lions. It's early in the year, they're going to be relatively healthy as long as training camp goes okay. And going up against the Saints team that I think is still trying to find its new identity, I think the Ravens are going to take that one there in week 2. But now you got a winnable game here, hosting the Raiders, a team in a bit of a rebuild phase right now, and finally got Fernando Mendoza, but good chance it could also be Kirk Cousins under the helm here in week 3, so we'll see how it plays out. Raiders, I feel like, are still kind of lacking in the receiver department, but they're a new team, relatively speaking, and they got a lot of new guys coming in, new head coach, new coaching staff, a lot of new stuff going on, new quarterbacks. So it's definitely going to be an adjustment period for the Raiders. They definitely have some young core pieces that could potentially take them a long way in future years. But I think in their first home game of the season, I think the Saints are going to get that one done there in week 3. As we move on to a Monday Night Football game here, as the Saints going to host the Falcons. I feel like this game could be kind of sneaky good here. Falcons might be starting Tua Tagovailoa in this one. I hope not, and I hope it... Well, I don't even know who I'd rather watch. I feel like as a Falcons fan, neither. But, man, that's going to be a tough game. Falcons have a great running game with Bijan Robinson. I mean, in fact, they kind of both are going to have decent running games. Obviously, Falcons having the edge because, they have Bijan Robinson. But I feel like a game like this can definitely come down to quarterback play for sure. And it is a bit earlier in the year, and I feel like the Falcons, if we're going to take anything away from last year, is that they started off the season decent, and they kind of fell off the rails as the season kind of went off, because, the Falcons had that great statement game against the Bills, and they were right there, and they just couldn't put it together in the second half of the season. And they kind of fell apart here, but early first half of the season, might have to give it to the Falcons here in Week 4. That's a tough one. I feel like that one can go either way here. Those are pretty two close teams there in terms of how good they are. But now we get the Vikings in Week 5 at home. The Vikings, very interesting team. Very interesting team. We know that their defense is really good. We know their offense has the potential to be really good, depending how the quarterback play is. I think most people are expecting Kyler Murray to be starting, unless something crazy happens. McCarthy plays. McCarthy was going to seemingly be the future, but he is way too inconsistent to really be starting at this point, unless he takes a big step forward this season. So I'm expecting Kyler Murray to be the starting quarterback for Minnesota. But, man, this is really tough here, because I really can't see the Saints starting off the season 1-4 to start the year, considering all the optimism that's been around this team so far. It's a tough game, though. It's really tough to predict here. I think I'm going to have to give the edge here to the Vikings here. Just year 2, Tyler Shough and company, going up against a really stingy defense like Minnesota. I feel like the Vikings just need to put a couple good drives together. I'm not going to say Tyler Shough is going to be bad in this game, but there's going to be a lot to figure out in a game like this, going up against a defense like that. Kind of similar with Baltimore situation. They have a really good defense as well, so it's going to be tough. It's going to be a challenge. It's early in the year, too. There's going to be some growing pains. And now you're in New Jersey to take on the Giants in Week 6. Giants have a lot more hype than the Saints right now. They got John Harbaugh as their new head coach. Year 2 of Jackson Dart. Cam Scadaboo should be healthy. They have the weapons. The defense has a lot of talent on that side. The Giants are a team that can make a big step this season. Going up against the Saints. Saints are going on the road, so this is the one thing that with making schedule prediction videos, it's like you always have that one team in your head. Well, not one team, but like every team, you have like a idea of where they're gonna be, and then when you go through their schedule, it's nowhere near where you thought they were gonna be. I think that's kind of how last season it was for the Raiders in my head, just because like a lot of people thought they could be decent, like middle of the pack, like 7-10, 8-9 in that range. And when I went through their schedule, I'm like, they'll be lucky to win 5 games. And sure enough, they didn't have a great season. But I think in Week 6 here, I'm gonna go with the Giants. I feel bad doing it, but I'm going to do it. Giants have a lot of potential. They're at home here. I think the Giants got more going for them than the Saints do right now, so I'm going to go with the Giants there. And then Week 7, hosting the Pittsburgh Steelers. Steelers are a very interesting team. They're mid. Everybody knows that. They're going to be this season. But there's also a good chance that they squeak into the playoffs in our first round exit again. But now with Mike McCarthy as the head coach, Rodgers playing another year, I feel like the Steelers' defense can be very inconsistent at times. I don't know how well Mike McCarthy is going to be coaching the Steelers, because we know he's an okay coach, but like, I haven't seen a great coach out of him really since he was with Green Bay. So I think I'm going to give the benefit of the doubt here. Give me the New Orleans Saints to take out the Steelers in Week 7. Right before their bye week in Week 8 is coming out of the bye, they host the Browns. Another team with a really good defense, but I think that offense, they have a lot to figure out. They don't know who's going to be their starting quarterback, whether it's going to be Shedeur Sanders or, God, I'm going to say it, Deshaun Watson. He's still being paid $50 million a season, so he could very potentially be the starter this season as long as he doesn't tear his leg open for the 5th year in a row. So we'll see what happens with that. But the Browns are one of those teams that have the potential. They have the talent there. I feel like they've had the talent for quite a number of years now. We know how good the defense can be. The offense has a lot of young talent. They just got to put it together. And is Todd Monken going to be the guy to put this team together? I don't know yet. It's a toss-up. Give me the Saints coming off the bye week to get the win there. As they got a nice little 2-game winning streak here as we enter Week 10, hosting the Carolina Panthers, the team that won the NFC South last season. Panthers are one of those teams, I don't know, like, they had a couple of amazing games, but they also had a lot of mediocre / piss poor games last season too. Like, I don't know how they won the division because Tampa Bay had a ridiculous collapse at the end, but I feel like this could be kind of the tipping point here for the Saints, where we can actually see that talent start coming to fruition here a little bit. So I think I'm going to give the edge here to the Saints at home, coming off a 2-game winning streak, just had to bye a few weeks ago. I think they're going to be amped for this game. They got the confidence building up here, going to be 4-5 as they go into Chicago as the Bears are coming off their bye week. The Bears have that Madden cover athlete now with Caleb Williams. At least that was the leak. I don't know if you guys seen it, but it seems to be that's going to be the Madden cover athlete. But the Bears are one of those teams that could be very dangerous this season. We saw the talent of Caleb Williams. Going into year 3, this could be a very dangerous year for the NFC with the Bears in the mix here. But they did lose a lot of guys. They lost Edmonds. There's 2 safeties. They lost DJ Moore, but they do still have a lot of talent, so they could still not even lose a step this season. We'll see if it happens or not, though. But Bears coming off the bye at home. The Saints fans probably riding cloud 9 just a little bit after this 3-game winning streak. I think they're going to come back to reality a little bit. I'm going to have the Bears taking out the Saints there in Week 11. As we move on to Week 12, going into Cincinnati to take on the Bengals. The Bengals have had so much hype this offseason, more in years past, and part of me understands it, part of me doesn't, because I understand that their defense could be better this season. They got Dexter Lawrence. Like, it should be better with how bad it's been in recent years. And if the offense stays healthy, they're going to be one of the best in football. We already know that. But they haven't been able to stay healthy. Joe Burrow has not been able to stay healthy. The defense has not been able to get good. So Zach Taylor's still their head coach. So, and I saw they're favored to win, 15 games in their schedule this season? I haven't looked at the Bengals schedule yet. I don't know when we'll get to it in these 33 prediction videos or 32 prediction videos before the season starts. We will see. But, this is really going to come down to if the Bengals are going to be healthy at this point, which I'm not going to be that person to predict injuries. So I'm going to go with the Bengals there in Week 12. I'm going to have them take out the Saints as a Week 13 showdown against the Packers. Ooh. See, the NFC North is a very tough draw for the Saints this year. It's a very tough draw for the entire NFC South to be going up against the NFC North because it's one of the best divisions in football. Packers are one of those teams right in the mix to win that division. They were right there last year. They're going to have Micah Parsons back. They're not going to have Romeo Doubs this year, but I feel like the Packers are one of those teams kind of similar to the Bills, where it's just receiver by committee, they're just plug and play guys pretty much for the most part. I'm gonna have to go with the Packers there in Week 13. The Packers are one of those teams that are just, there's always those tiers of teams, and when 2 teams obviously are in the same tier, you can really go either way. But when you see those teams where one team is clearly above another, that's kind of what it feels like with the Packers and the Saints here. So, I mean, barring, if Josh Jacobs isn't still behind bars coming Week 13, which I doubt he will be. But I'm going to have the Packers winning that one. And now we got Week 14 going into Carolina to take on the Panthers. This is tough because I don't know. If I'm being honest here, I don't think that the Saints will be able to sweep the Panthers. I feel like in the NFC South, I don't know if anybody's really going to be sweeping anybody, either just because of the mediocrity in that division, or because, every team is just kind of, every team in that division is just in a similar spots, at least talent-wise, to where really anybody could beat anybody in that division. So I'm going to go with the safe Panthers victory there. In week 14 is Saints sitting at 4-9 here. This might be a little bit of dangerous position for Kellen Moore. As we move into week 15 as the Saints take on the Buccaneers. This almost kind of feels like must-win territory now for the Saints. They're sitting at 4-9. The division may still be up for grabs here, even though they're at 4-9. Might just have to go on a bit of a run here. We saw it last season. I'm going to have the Saints beating Tampa there in week 15. Tampa Bay is... I don't really know what to think of him at this point. There's no more Mike Evans, even though he missed most of last season anyways. The defense is kind of still pretty mid. Baker Mayfield, he was bad at the end of last season, let's be honest, he was. So, a lot of question marks around Tampa Bay, and they still kept their head coach in Todd Bowles, so we'll see how that plays out for them. But now they could host the Arizona Cardinals in week 16. A lot of people see him as one of the worst teams in football with the Miami Dolphins this season, if not the worst team in football in the Arizona Cardinals, and the Saints get them at home, so should be a win there for the Saints. As we move on to week 17 in Atlanta, this could be a crucial last few two games here for New Orleans going into Atlanta. Very tough spot here. It's so tough to pick here. I really don't know here. Again, quarterback play is going to be a question. Where the Falcons are going to be at this point of the season is still to be determined because, I haven't done it yet. But I feel like both these teams are still in the mix here in week 17. It's going to be a big game. Falcons get them at home here. The Saints beat them earlier in the season. I think this is going to be... Oh, no, the Falcons... I did have the Falcons beat them earlier in the year. Interesting. Oof. Damn it. Okay, this is tough. I have to come back to this game because that's gonna be a slugfest in this one. Oof. Crap. Okay, you know what? I was thinking Falcons at first, but I think I'm gonna go with the Saints there in week 17, and then rounding it out at home against Tampa. Again, we'll see how Tampa's season plays out. 3-game winning streak. Can they make it 4 in a row to end the season? Potentially win the division? I think they can do that. So there you have it for the New Orleans Saints. I got them sitting at 8-9. I think that's not a similar spot. It's a couple more wins than they had last season. Might not be enough for the division. We will see. It very well could be. So, Saints getting that last bit of end of the season rush yet again. We'll see how their season plays out, obviously upcoming, but there you have it. That is my New Orleans Saints 2026 season predictions for them, sitting at 8-9. I'll have another prediction video whenever I can get to it again, but my goal is I got until preseason begins to get all these done, so you should be expecting another prediction video shortly. But hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you guys like what I do on the channel, subscribe would be so greatly appreciated. And if you enjoyed the video, thumbs up would also be appreciated as well. Let me know your New Orleans Saints season predictions in the comments below. My X account, my Instagram, and the Playoff Predictors website will be in the description below as well if you want to go check that out. But with that being said, I hope you guys all enjoy your first day of June. And as I say, life forms